Welcome to Hameen Royale. This is Eric Grissom.
And I'm Dan Johnson. Eric and I will be rewatching the iconic Twin Peaks from the pilot through the return and everything in between.
If this is your first time watching, or if you're a longtime fan, you can watch along with us as we dive deep into the strange and wonderful world of Twin Peaks.
We live inside a dream.
Today on Meanwhile, we are tackling the one-armed man, but not physically. We're sort of giving an old piggyback for on the one-armed man. Dan, are you ready for the piggyback?
I'm glad we're not tackling him because I kind of think he might be able to take both of us.
Dan, did you know we added a way for listeners?
Yeah?
That's you. That's you right now who's hearing my voice. To give us some money, because we could always use money. The goal, I think... We talked in private, not publicly. I would love to do a Patreon. That's the goal. $3 a month. We're going to have a movie club. We're going to talk about David Lynch films. All of that's coming. We haven't recorded anything yet, so until we actually record like something that's worth your $3. We have like a one-time buymeacoffee.com thingamajig. So you can go to ericgrissom.com/meanwhile. And there's a little support button there.
What's that going to?
It's going to hosting. So it's going to go to our podcast hosting fees. It's going to go to whatever normalization crap that we put the file in.
The amount of time that Eric spends making this sound as good as it does, folks.
It does never sound as good as I want it. Like the Severance podcast sounds so great.
I wonder how that happened with all of Ben Stiller's money.
I don't have the money or the resources, but
right.
we're working hard.
I mean, we are recording in professional studios here, so that should go a long way.
So if you could, that would be greatly appreciated. Keep in mind, I would love it if we could do a Patreon at some point. But yeah, now that I've shake the crime stick.
Shake the crime stick!
Take the cup and I'm banging it outside your window. Let's get into Season 1, Episode 4 or 5, I guess, depending on where you're standing. The One-Armed Man. This is written by Robert Engels. Now, Robert Engels, he wrote 10 episodes of Twin Peaks, as well as the film Fire Walk With Me. You're going to see his name a lot. So Robert Engels and Harley Peyton, who wrote the episode that we did last time, they're sort of like the producers that run Twin Peaks. As we talked about at this time, David Lynch is doing Wild at Heart. Mark Frost at one point leaves to do a film as well. I have heard Robert Engels is like the David Lynch guy, and Harley Peyton would be like the Mark Frost guy, maybe to see their visions through. I've seen that. I've read that. Whether it's true or not, who knows? I love both of them. This is a great script from Robert Engels, and when we get to Fire Walk With Me, it's one of my favorite films. This one's also directed by Tim Hunter, Dan. Now, did you ever see River's Edge, which is a fantastic movie? Yeah, have you seen it?
It's not the Kevin Bacon movie, is it? It's like helping people going down a whitewater thing, but he ends up being like, is he a murderer or not? That's a different movie.
Okay. River's Edge, a movie from the 80s, 1986. Keanu Reeves is in it. Crispin Glover.
You don't understand a goddamn thing, do you? Jamie is dead, damn it.
Oh.
Ione Skye is also in it. So there you go. Fun fact about Ione Skye, I only just learned yesterday that her dad is Donovan. I feel like I've gone this whole time. And
I just learned today that her dad is Donovan.
And you just learned it right now. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so this is directed by, as I said, Tim Hunter, who did River's Edge. Tim Hunter goes on and does some of the greatest TV of our lifetime. You're going to see his name on Deadwood, Mad Men, Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy, American Horror Story, bunch of stuff. So
he never did anything like good or that was successful?
Yeah, it's interesting to see like the people that come out of Twin Peaks and where they go. So Tim Hunter is a great director, as we'll see. This show premiered on May 3rd, 1990 at 9 p.m., once again facing down Falcon Crest. That Cheers and Wings combo, and it comes in second, so it's doing okay. Dan, anything on the radio is
It's still Nothing Compares to You, I believe. So stuck with that, Sinead. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to literally talk about a one-armed man.
Dr. Jacoby, I understand you care deeply for Laura Palmer. Why is it that you won't help us?
My own personal investigation, I suspect, will be ongoing for the rest of my life. Laura had secrets. And around those secrets, she built a fortress. Well, that in my 6 months with her, I was not able to penetrate.
It's morning. We're at the Palmer house. Andy, the artist, is sketching Bob based on Sarah's vision. Leland wakes and tells the police that Sarah had 2 visions.
I didn't know that Andy was so multi-talented. Of all the people that we met in the sheriff's department, that Andy was going to be the sketch artist and be so good at it.
I wouldn't have picked that. You know why? Because
Why?
in Cooper's dream, it's Hawk. Well, Cooper's dream and the international ending, it's actually Hawk that does the sketch.
In my dream, Sarah Palmer has a vision of her daughter's killer. Deputy Hawk sketched his picture. I got a phone call from a one-armed man named Mike. The killer's name was Bob.
So in this world, it's Andy. So it's interesting to see, like, okay, the dream is true, but it's distorted or it's a little bit different.
Sarah's description of Bob with the filthy gray-on-gray hair was a perfect description for him. Andy just looking over his shoulder and seeing the incredible artwork that he has. I'm actually really looking forward to his solo exhibition. It's going to be really, really good.
I love that illustration because it becomes like the poster that they're going to put up, and always wanted that t-shirt, and it's just such a cool image.
It's nice that Donna's there for a visit. Like I think last time we saw her there, Leland's advice to her was like, don't upset her. And now she's here for like, woo, this is a big one. But like, she's definitely there just for the moment that comes later, whatever we mentioned, like the necklace. It's like, it's literally there just for that moment.
I wonder if there is some story sense to her being there, because when Sarah remembers that she saw him, she's with Donna, right? Because it's the scene where she sees Laura's face on Donna, and then she hugs, and then so maybe she's there as a witness to the vision.
Now, is Leland just completely all tranquilizered up? Is that what's going on here? Because
he's not happy. He looks like he's just gotten up, and he's very irritated at Sarah. Yeah, not happy about this whole thing.
And the way that so he says, in a mocking tone, tell him about the necklace. They're going to love that one. She's had 2 visions. And she goes after him, like pleading almost. Like, I felt so bad for her. They're both in such grief, but they also are doing it together, but separately. They're just on their own grief journeys. And it feels so painful for Sarah to be like, why are you kind of doing this to me as well? Right.
Well, and you take it like Leland is like being mad at her because she's had 2 visions. Meanwhile, we just had a funeral in which you jumped on your daughter's casket and rode it up and down for a while. So it's like, pump the brakes a little bit, Leland. I think we all should give each other some space here in the grieving.
I do like, they mentioned the necklace, and the camera has that tight close-up on Donna as she kind of turns to camera and has the worried look in her face. I love her so much. But yeah, that's all that really happens this scene. Yeah. Where do we go next?
All right, so at the sheriff's station, Cooper is interviewing Dr. Jacoby while Andy and Lucy have a fight. Jacoby tells him that he followed a man in a red Corvette the night Laura was found, and Cooper hears from Gordon Cole and gets an update on Albert's report.
I like that this scene starts off right into Invitation to Love.
Yes.
And we get Emerald and Chet together. She's rubbing her hand all over him. I love the moment when she puts her hand through his greasy or oiled slick back hair and looks at it and ugh. She has this look of disgust as she's doing it. It's great. And obviously, when Harry and Cooper come in and he asks Lucy what's going on, and she just gives, it's Andy. It's Andy and Harry come in, and he asks Lucy what's going on. She just gives him the entire backstory of the soap opera. What's great is Andy's just looking at her, following along, of course this is what Harry must have meant.
Yeah.
Then it goes right into the fight that we're starting to see with Andy and Lucy, which I just feel so bad for him. What did he do?
Yeah, when we find out, I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything, but I don't. I got some issues, I guess, with Lucy. I don't really.
Oh, we'll pick
understand where
teams. We'll pick teams.
One thing that I found interesting about this is as we start seeing more of this Invitation to Love, and we're talking about the locket or the necklace, and then we're seeing a necklace, and it starts very much like commenting on the show. And one thing that I heard listening to Robert Engel's commentary on this particular episode is that David Lynch started to really not like that.
So what happened was that it seemed to parallel our own plot more, and also seemed to sort of comment on the show more. And I think that's what David felt, was that it was too much making fun of what we were trying to do, so working so hard to make work smoothly. It would be easy to say, well, the soap opera within the soap opera is making fun of what we're doing. It's getting hard to talk about overkill in terms of Twin Peaks, but in that sense, I think it was too much and too close, too dead on, too much saying this is exactly what we think. David would prefer people to see it and make their own judgment.
What do you think of Jacoby sitting there and the way that he is being interviewed by Cooper versus everyone else that we've seen? We've seen James in there. We've seen Bobby and Mike. Donna's been in front of Cooper, but Jacoby's got a completely different demeanor and a different take on Cooper than anyone else. And he's totally blasé and dismissive of Cooper.
I don't know if he's blasé of Cooper. I feel like he's approaching him as like another professional. Like he sees
That's what I mean. Sorry. You're right.
A kindred spirit in him.
And I think I agree that, maybe he's looking at Cooper. He doesn't see Cooper as a threat. And I think, everyone else did. James, because he didn't have an alibi, looked guilty as heck. We had Donna, who was trying to keep secrets. We have Bobby and Mike, who are, they're Bobby and Mike. So they're going to be. So this just felt different to me. And you have that close up starting on Jacoby's face, where he's got the two different colored, the red and blue eyeglasses.
Yeah. First appearance of the red and blue eyeglasses, which was a thing you associate with him.
He's doing the ball trick with the, golf ball in the ear and out the mouth. He's just sitting there. And Cooper looks at him and is just stone-faced, almost just like waiting for it to be over. Or is he just waiting him out?
Right. I think he's bored. Like this guy is like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this ping pong ball trick? Which apparently Russ Tamblyn, that was a trick he knew and was like, do you want me to do it? And they were like, sure. But he's like, get to the point kind of thing with him.
Yeah.
They have a very interesting relationship.
It's just a very different dynamic than we've seen with Cooper with anyone else so far. I mean, interviewing Leo Johnson, all this stuff. The way that Jacoby comes over, they're talking about, trying to ask questions, talking around things because of the patient confidentiality. But he comes over and stands within inches of Cooper's face, who's seated, and he's bending over and says to him that Laura had secrets.
Yeah.
And the way that he says that obviously calls to mind the dream again as well, which is great. But coming from Jacoby is just horrible. And then on top of that, he asked about Cooper asked about Bobby and James, and he said they were boys. Laura was a woman.
Yeah, it's not cool.
17 and just it's just so he's just such a great character and so creepy on every level. So all that's great. I mean, what else is there about Jacoby? Because he gets out of there and it's like later Howleys and he's off to the Hawaii.
He's like, oh, so your interests lie to the east. But if you think about it, they're in Washington State. Now I know the East it's considered the East when you talk about Tibet and when. But he's like, my interests also lie to the east, but not as far as like Honolulu. It's like, it's actually to the west if you were going to go. And if you went to the east, you'd actually have to go farther to go there. Whatever, it's stupid.
Did you also tweet at Mark Frost about that one? Or
no, that one I let go. That one I let go. Come on. I take that as a personal attack, Dan. I like that we learned like a couple things about the timeline again, right? So we've got to review the timeline, right? We got Wednesday, according to James, something spooks Laura. Right. Thursday, she does a language lesson with Josie. Laura sends a tape to Jacoby that day, and she sees James Hurley at the corner of Sparkwood and 21. Friday, she's found dead. The whole investigation begins, and now we learn that night, Jacoby follows a man in a red Corvette, but loses him. Mm-hmm. It's the same night that Donna and James plant the necklace, and Sarah has her vision. All this stuff's happening.
It would make sense because Jacoby was following the guy with the red Corvette, lost him, and then continued on, and then found the locket in the woods. because he's the one that grabbed it. So it must have been all in the same vicinity.
Yes. Well, we don't know that. Like, we know he has it. We don't know whether or not he grabbed it. We assume that.
Yeah. That's really helpful to put the timeline together like that, because there's so many pieces that are happening, and it's such a short period of time.
When we find out, like, about the red Corvette, Jacoby leaves, and Cooper's like, does Leo Johnson drive a red car? It's like, this guy is so good at observing everything. He's watching videotapes, half a second of a videotape. This guy's seeing a reflection in an iris of a motorcycle. He talked to Leo for 10, 15 minutes. And the car is parked there, like the red Corvette is literally behind him. But he's got it, does he have it? Of course you remember that. Come on, Cooper.
Yep.
Dan, now, a new character enters the scene, right? Phone call rings for Cooper.
Bring me a telephone and get me Gordon Cole.
His boss is on the phone. We've got Gordon Cole. What's your take on Gordon Cole, who will maybe return?
Is this a case where we're hearing about the character and meeting them for the first time all at once?
Yes, all at once.
Gordon was not mentioned before, like we've talked about with so many of these things.
I can't remember if they mentioned Gordon before.
Okay.
Possible.
All right, just wondering, because we had so many of those times with Albert. We heard about him a couple of times before we actually met him. But we got Gordon on the horn. I love the little amplifier thing for the phone call sitting there.
Like the speakerphone?
The speakerphone. I guess that's what it's called. Of course it's called speakerphone. But yeah, he's got good news and bad news for Cooper. The bad news being he's got a OOJ and an AFO. He's got an obstruction of justice, and I don't know what the AFO was, and I couldn't find it anywhere. But I think it's probably something to do with force against an officer. I'm guessing. But we got that, and Cooper, going to bat for Harry, because of course he would. They are best buddies now already. That's really great. But the good news. He's sending over a fax of the plastic piece that has a J on it. So we're going to get some information about that from Albert.
I love this. Like Gordon Cole, which is David Lynch, if you're not aware of it. A couple of interesting notes. He's talking at regular volume and no one's talking.
I know. I wasn't going to say anything about that yet, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's totally normal volume. Just throw that out there. The name Gordon Cole is also a reference to Sunset Boulevard. There's a character in Sunset Boulevard that is mentioned as Gordon Cole. It's one of David Lynch's favorite films. We learn some really important details, though, right? So we get some of Albert's report in. We know that the twine in the upper arm is Finley's fine twine. We now know Cooper knows the marks are bird bites. And the sketch that comes in.
Oh, yes.
I love this part because he's like, he knows him from the dream. And he's like the eyes, the eyes are a little bit closer together. And I like the idea that he says that he purposely was not at that meeting with Sarah because he's a strong sender. And within this, like we've already got dreams, we've got the Tibet rock throwings, but now we're introducing like this whole other level.
Yeah.
And we know that we're going to find out a little bit later that, I think Donna says like Laura always said her mom was sort of touched, and Laura had that too, and now we know Cooper has that. So we have like this other level beyond the supernatural element or something beyond the normal that's super cool. And we also find out, obviously, Hawk is going to tell us that the one-armed man has been located at Timber Falls Motel, and then Andy does one of the best lines where they talk about how far or how long will it take you to get to the Timber Falls Motel.
10 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah, it depends on how you go, which is true in his defense.
He's not wrong.
It is true.
Well, it depends on how you go.
Yeah.
Andy, just whatever.
All right.
Yeah, but we also have you mentioned all that, thank you, because there's a lot of clues there. So like you said, put it all in your journal, mark it with the asterisk. We'll come back to it. But we had two pieces of twine. So a really common one and another one they can't identify yet. So we'll see if that comes back around.
We're going to jump over to the Timber Falls Motel, Dan, as you do. Hawks found the one-armed man. They interview him, and we learn that he had a veterinarian friend named Bob. And at the same time, Josie is there taking photos of Catherine and Ben's tryst. Dan, talk to me about talk to me first about Ben and Catherine and all of their business.
And Josie, I mean, obviously,
Yes, and
Josie's not exactly inconspicuous. She's like the only car there with the window rolled down and a giant like telephoto lens on the camera like sticking out. And she's also a fairly recognizable person owning the Packard sawmill. You're gonna recognize one of the major employers in the area, but she's not the best for a stakeout. But God love her. But we got Catherine and Ben at their shacking up at their. I'm assuming this is the same motel that we've seen them in before.
Oh, possibly. Yeah, I imagine it's probably their meetup.
Unless, every motel has that cheap wood paneling and a horrible bedspread. But they're just getting all excited and hot and bothered about trying to get to the big finale of the sawmill, getting ready to burn it down. We got Catherine gloating a little bit about being ahead of Josie and being able to, hide the other ledger. She says that Pete doesn't know about the secret, the compartment in her secretary desk that she has there. But I don't know, it kind of looked like Pete might have seen it. We'll see. And then I don't know what the joke is here, but Ben, when they're laying together, Ben says the headline that we're going after is Josie Packard torches bankrupt mill insurance fraud, not giant weenie roast in the woods. And they both laugh like it's a hilarious joke.
Right. Well, the plan, obviously, right, is they have two sets of books. One is the one she sees, which everything's fine, and then the real books, it's going bankrupt. So he's just saying like, the headlines have to be that she torched it because she needed the money, and not just a random fun, like a fire in the woods. Like he just says like a weenie roast, like because people are camping, they're gonna.
But they were just laughing about it as though it was actually funny. Like I get the point. I know what they're trying to set up. But
I think it's funny. Yeah, I would definitely laugh at that. The weenie. Anytime you say weenie roast, it's always there's a little bit of joy in that. I think
it's the W's. It's the W's.
So it starts out and you hear Invitation to Love playing, which just sets up this thing like everybody is in this town watching this show that no one's really ever heard of.
I didn't even notice that there was that. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's low in the sound mix, like, but he's sitting on the bed. They've got the TV on. It's like Invitation to Love is
fantastic.
Everyone in the town is sort of like involved, and you see that multiple places. Even when Leland was getting his pain meds intravenously, he's watching Invitation to Love. So it's this show that's just sort of everywhere. The one last point, even though it happens a little bit later, is how weird it is with Ben taking a bath with his little Elvis.
What is that?
I actually know what that is. So it's a joke about his penis, right? So like Elvis used to call his penis Lil Elvis.
Okay.
So to get around standards and practices, they made a little Elvis to go along. But before I even knew that, I just think it's so weird, like that he's got a little sponge or something that looks like Elvis. But that's all it is.
Okay, because it makes no sense in the story for him to have that at all. And if you're talking about they're trying to get around something with standards, in a previous episode, they just showed a brothel full of high school girls that are barely wearing any clothes. So it's just a weird thing around what the standards are, but okay.
Well, yeah, it says built that way. It protects men, I guess, a little bit more than, yeah, it's a funny gag like on its own. And how great is this show that you can just have that in there and you're like, okay, of course he takes a bath with a tiny little Elvis.
When he pulls his tiny Elvis out, he also drops a coin,
yes,
a poker chip from
One-Eyed Jacks.
Yep. So that's interesting. We'll see that come back around later. But I think we got all of that.
What do you mean you don't know him? You know this man.
Oh, no, sir. I've never seen that man before in my life. But you know something? He kind of looks like somebody, doesn't he?
Mr. Gerard, do you have a friend named Bob?
Bob Lydecker's just about my best friend in the world.
Why have you been at the hospital the past 2 days?
Bob's in a coma.
There was a Lydecker assaulted 3 days ago outside a bar in Lowtown.
That's Bob.
The main point of what's happening here is while all this is going on, while they are sort of bragging about their plans to dupe Josie and burn the mill down, we're after the one-armed man. So Cooper, Hawk's already there, Andy, Truman, they're all going to arrive and they're going to rush in to see Philip Gerard. They've got him in his room. A lot going on in this scene, Dan. Like, what do you got for me?
I mean, obviously, the first thing we got to talk about is poor Andy. Poor Andy. He is so excited.
Yeah, he's got to get his act together a little bit. But yes, poor Andy. He could have killed anyone there. He could have killed Truman. He could have killed Cooper. Some guy looking through the bushes.
Clearly, all the guys in the bush. Clearly, just got to say, he drops his gun as they're all getting ready to knock on the door or break their way in. But the Cooper's reaction too, like he's just so upset. Like he just like spins around in a circle, but he doesn't like. He's Cooper. He doesn't lash out. He's more just disappointed in the situation than he is like angry at Andy. And we see later, like he actually kind of helps out. But just that moment, and then they bust in, and we see Philip Gerard having just gotten out of the shower. Poor guy, just
with his little Elvis.
We got 3 officers of the law in there while he's got nothing but a towel on him. So poor guy. Yes,
they're very mean to him.
Really are. But I mean, Cooper is so certain of what's going on.
Yeah, well, so is Harry. Like, Harry is so committed to the insanity of what's going on, where he's yelling at him, "You know this man," when they're showing him a picture of Bob. And he's like, "No, I don't." He's like, "Yes, you do." He's like, based entirely on your partner's dream.
Right.
You met him in your dream. Clearly, you're lying to us. Like,
right. We got a dream to prove it. But that's a really good point. Like, it's coming from Cooper's confidence. Like, he knows what's going on. But then you're right. Harry has also witnessed things that Cooper has told him have been true. So everyone's just like, yeah, this has got to be what's going on. And us as the audience, same thing. Like, wait, how? Because we've seen the dream, so we think this is all true too. So is this guy just lying to us? Is he a really good liar? Because he's very convincing. The actor is doing a great job of being as believable and not like winking to the camera, so it feels all totally real. So it's frustrating as well for us. Like, there's the guy from the dream that we've seen so much about. Like, but no, we get nothing.
Right. And the guy's name is Mike in the dream. This is Philip Gerard, but his middle name is Michael.
Yep, Philip Michael.
And he also happens to have a friend named Bob Lydecker.
It's just about my best friend in the world.
Yep, that's Bob.
Yeah, got into a fist fight in Lowtown. Poor guy. Andy, again, man. Andy is... So, we're going to blame this all on his fight with Lucy. He says later that he's feeling really high-strung. But, he's just kind of wandering around the room a little bit as they're interrogating him, sees the suitcase there, is messing with it, and pops it open, and it's all the shoes, the sample shoes.
Which is interesting, right? That it's shoes. Fire Walk With Me, and it's shoes, and he's selling shoes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yep. I did not put that together, but that's great. Yeah.
Little symbols. Yeah, there's lots of little symbols and connections to these dreams.
And we do find out that, but Mike did indeed have a tattoo on his arm. But sadly, it said Mom.
He did, and it's so sad. Even when they're, like, asking him that, like, he's lost his arm, and they're like, how did you, like, they're very mean to him.
Yeah.
And he did nothing but exist in a dream in which even the character in the dream had seen the face of God.
Yeah.
So it's not even like they're talking to Bob, it's Mike, who's the nicer of the two weirdos in the dream.
Yeah, right.
No, I found them a little severe on it. Maybe they could pump the brakes a little bit, be a little nicer.
It's all coming back to the fact they're just absolutely certain that this is all the real thing.
One last piece. So as they're leaving, Hawk fills Harry in, and he's like, "Hey, by the way, Josie Packard was here for a while." So now Harry knows that little bit of information, and then we jump over to school, and Audrey and Donna are going to agree to go into the Laura Palmer business.
Well, the Laura Palmer investigation business. Let's say.
Yes.
I don't know what Laura's business. We hear a little bit more. We saw in the previous episode, Audrey was snooping through a secret passageway on Dr. Jacoby and her brother Johnny. But we hear a little bit more about what she's found out. And so she knows that Laura was Jacoby's secret patient, which apparently Donna had no idea as well. Poor Donna. She feels like she really knows Laura, but then all these other things. She's full of secrets. I like, they start talking about One-Eyed Jack and Audrey's description of like, when I think about it, Laura being in a place like that, I get all shivery, but it's like a hot cold. Like that whole thing is just seeing how titillated Audrey is through all this is just a nice window into her psyche.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's really all that happens in this episode. A small thing too, Donna's just always the goody-goody. She's in there putting makeup on, and Audrey's, smoking a cigarette when she's about to leave, flicks it into the into the sink, and Donna goes over and washes it down. Just because she's
well, that's
Donna.
Donna.
She's always perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect kid.
Fact, this is such a great scene.
So it is true.
I love the set design. The production designer is this guy, Richard Hoover. He did the first 2 seasons. Just masterful. I love that it's, obviously the Twin Peaks, but it also looks like a heart monitor, right? Because it's like, this is the heart of the town is the young people. And like having them two there, both of them are great. Their partnership is a little bit one-sided, right? It seems like Audrey's doing a lot of the work, including investigating the perfume counter.
Yeah.
What exactly Donna's contributing, we haven't figured that part out yet. But I love the young people like in the town, and you have like when you think about it, it's all archetypes, right? You've got like Donna's the girl next door, Laura's the prom queen. You've got Shelley's the poor girl. Audrey's the rich girl. You've got the bad boy. You've got the jock. You've got the sensitive loner in James. Like, it's just, it works so well. And you mentioned the cigarette in the sink.
Yeah.
But it's just like, she does not care. Like, she's got an ashtray in her locker, and now she's throwing cigarettes out. Like, there's no... She's great. But I love the way that this scene looks. I love the way that they play off each other. And you can't help but feel excited that like an investigation, and it brings up all those memories of like, Nancy Drew and like, what are we going to uncover? And I love it.
Yeah.
We're going to jump over to Hank's parole hearing. Norma speaks on his behalf, offering him a job and a place to live. So we've heard of Hank, and now we get to see him.
Get to actually see him. But first, we got to see Mr. Mooney again. When he says, like, I hope I didn't come on too strong yesterday, what a freaking creep.
Yeah, he sucks.
Such a creep. I mean, I'm glad they brought him back again, just so we could be like, yeah, he really sucks. But yeah, she says, I'll be sure to tell Hank how helpful you've been, Mr. Mooney, which is like just this nice, subtle threat that she's got at all times with Hank. The actor playing Hank, I'm like, he looks so dang familiar.
He's been in a lot of stuff. He was just I just watched Whiplash the other day. He's in that.
274 credited roles. He's been in everything.
You'll find him everywhere. He's a good actor.
We see him playing with a domino. He got a double three.
Classic domino.
Double three domino.
He gets a classic domino that's Hank's domino, and he also introduces a catchphrase. So you get two for one.
What's his catchphrase?
The catch you later.
Catch you later.
He's going to use that one more time in this episode in case you miss it here, yeah.
And I do like that. I mean, it's obviously like catch you later. Does he know that he says that he knows that she's been busy. So yeah, there's the implied threat to all that as well. I don't know. What else is going on in this scene?
Nothing. I mean, it's cool. It's like I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I like the, it's hard to figure out like why Norma's doing what she's doing. There is like that threat that, not that he makes a threat to her, but he's sort of trying to play on her niceness where he's like, oh, I'm getting squeezed in there or whatever. But like, you can tell she knows he's full of it. So it's still like hard for me to be like, why are you doing, like, why is Norma doing this? Because she says not only is she giving him a job, but he's going to sleep with her because after all, he is my husband, like that line. So it's like, I don't know, but it's fine. It's a good enough scene. Guy's name is Chris Mulkey too, as well.
Thank you.
Throw that in there.
Yeah.
Cooper and Harry investigate Bob Lydecker's veterinarian clinic, which is located right next to a convenience store. Conveniently. Cooper seizes the patient files, believing the bird who bit Laura to be a client. What a great scene this is.
So we got the Cooper and Harry are showing up to go to the vet. You said we got the convenience store there, and Cooper notes that in my dream, Mike said that he and Bob lived above a convenience store, and I love that Harry says to him, if I were you, I'd be afraid to go to sleep at night. All the dreams that he's having, he sends Andy in to go get some twine, right away.
Yeah, so he sends Andy in right there.
Yeah.
Before they walk in, there's so many cool things that are happening. He sends Andy into the store. Hawk immediately goes up to like some biker and they high five each other.
I didn't catch that.
And Harry goes right for the cat. And Harry's with the cat. He's like got this huge smile on his face.
Huge grin. Yep.
And I love that. But yeah, like all of them do something. But Hawk, yeah, he makes a beeline for like this burly looking biker, and he's like, Hawk, and then they high five each other.
I didn't even see that. Okay, yeah.
It's
That's
really
great.
cool. And Harry, Michael Onkeen, I've heard was a vegetarian, so again, I'm adding this myself, like, oh, he's going to the animals because he's like an animal lover or whatever.
Sure.
I don't know if that's true. Maybe he's doing it for dietary reasons. I don't know, but I like that.
Yeah.
It was a nice little moment where there's so much joy on his face when he's petting that cat.
Which is funny because the girl that's holding the cat, who's presumably the vet patient, gives no reaction whatsoever. She's completely looking down the whole time. Like, the sheriff is just here petting my cat, and like she has no reaction whatsoever. So his like big grin, he's super excited. We see the big sign above the veterinary clinic, and it has the like little catchphrase, "Aid to the beast incarnate," which is like
which kind of is interesting. Like when you think about Bob being a demonic entity, because just the wording it sounds very religious and demonic. And is it a connection to the demonic because this is Bob Lydecker? But
yeah, I mean, I couldn't find any other reference to like what that might be a play on or whatever. It's just purely for this. But yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind for me as well. One of the best absurd sort of just moments, still frames of Twin Peaks is the inside the veterinary's office. We have the giant llama standing there. We got a llama. We got a iguana on the floor. You got a person with dog and cat. But like that llama just sitting there is fantastic.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's so good. Because why wouldn't you have a pet llama in Twin Peaks? It's great. Cooper is so certain. He says, clear as the signs on the turnpike that a bird that attacked Laura was a patient here. Is it just intuition again?
Literally, he has a dream. He's got Mike, who has a friend named Bob, and they lived above a convenience store. And then it happens that Bob Lydecker's office is next to a convenience store that's going to sell the same kind of twine that we're going to find out. And of course, it has to be connected to the bird.
Yeah.
Because all of that stuff is connected. So I love the llama bit, like where the llama is walking past Cooper, and Kyle MacLachlan is just a master because he doesn't break character at all. He makes eye contact with the llama and then immediately goes back to the scene. Now, they were trying to do something like that, and Kyle MacLachlan's chewing on gum. So it's actually the gum that the llama is reacting to the smell of the gum on his face, which cues it. But like he doesn't break, and I think they did it in like one take. But it's just perfect.
It is perfect. It is the absolute.
He doesn't
perfect
even
shot.
look like he's going to smile, and he just. I love that scene.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. Between the first shot of the llama standing there, giant in this vet office, and then that moment of the two of them locking eyes before it walks away, it is absolutely perfect.
To quote you, it's an iconic moment in Twin Peaks.
It is an iconic moment. I would say, Eric, it's a perfect scene.
Yes, absolutely. I like when Cooper says the shortest distance between 2 points is not necessarily a straight line, which immediately young Eric was like, just like they said at Wrinkle in Time.
Oh my gosh, Wrinkle in Time.
Favorite,
I love the entire series. Yeah.
All right, we're going to go to the Johnsons, Dan, and we're going to see Bobby and Shelley spending some quality time together as they make plans for Leo.
Man, this is so 90s. Bobby with that shirt, the bowling shirt, I'm just presuming, something like that. That's with the name stitched on the front, Dick, which is great. It's actually absolutely perfect, but so 90s, so Gen X, which is great. There's this moment when Bobby's like putting the pieces together with Jacques and Leo.
And I'm thinking about this a lot.
And he says to Shelley, like, I think it's even possible they're selling drugs to Laura. So now he's like lying to Shelley because he knows.
He says, he does. He's selling young to high school kids. But yes, he totally lies to Shelley. But I'm thinking about this all the time, right? Because this feeds into the whole how does the drug relationship work. So now Robert Engels writes this episode. He also writes Fire Walk with Me. There's a bit here where when Shelley is on top of Bobby and she says, oh, he's out with that creepy guy Jacques. Mm-hmm. And you watch like Bobby's face when he puts two and two together, that they're together, they're working together. That will pay out later when we do Fire Walk with Me and we see the prequel, because the Firewalk takes place a week before the events of what we're seeing now. That is cool to think of, like, okay, that he ended up writing that movie, a year later, whenever it was, and to tie it that, because but again, then I don't want to spoil too much of Firewalk with Me, but he does do a deal with Jacques that involves $10,000, and we'll get there. It's all part of this whole struggle that I'm in here. We're going to hear more about that in this one, and I actually wrote Bob Engels the other day. I found his email online, and I was like, "Come on, man, help me out." So I have not heard back from him. We'll see.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
I have nothing else really to say about here, other than this is Shelley now brings Bobby in and says, "I got this bloody shirt."
Yeah.
So this is how Bobby gets it. And one other note, which is lost when you watch it on regular TV, but when you watch the Blu-ray or the HD version, you can really see like the bruising on Shelley's face. Really.
Oh, you really can't see it here at all in the streaming version.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You can see it on her cheek. She's got like a little bit of a black and blue.
Yep.
Okay, so we go back to the station. Lucy is going through the animal files while the guys fire guns and talk about girls. Little boys' time.
Nothing that Lucy says will ever bring me more joy than when she says, "Well, how will I know they own birds?" When she has to go through the patient's file. I just love her so much.
I would be going insane.
Oh, no.
If I had to work with Lucy.
If I actually had to know her in real life.
Like, Harry is just like, you just look at the file.
It's
and it'll say.
So great.
Please, God.
We get a little bit more of the interaction between Andy and Lucy. She's trying, and we know that she's like, it's some tiff that's not like they're over or anything, because when he says, I was so embarrassed, I could have shot somebody, and she asks, "Are you okay?" And as soon as he says he's okay, then she's like, "Well, now I gotta go."
But she wouldn't let him stay the night with her.
She sure wouldn't.
And he doesn't know what he did wrong.
I don't know, because I literally don't remember. I don't know what he did wrong, so I'm on pins and needles to find out. This poor guy.
I'll keep it to myself.
But they get to go. We go down to the shooting range underneath the sheriff's office.
Yeah,
I guess it's a probably standard thing. I don't know. I mean, it's great that it's also like an all-purpose storage area that they're walking through. Is really great.
Yeah, the Christmas decorations is awesome. That you see the Christmas decorations, you're like, this is a small town. Like they're responsible for it, and that I like that little detail that they.
It's terrific. Yep. But they go down there. They're talking about dames,
guy stuff.
And so there's no logic at work here, Andy. Let that one go. It's such a great line too. We do find a little bit about Cooper's backstory. Like, was he ever married? And he gives this like long answers, like, "No, I know someone once who helped me understand commitment, the responsibilities and risks."
Yeah, he had his heart broken. That's going to be a thing that we will learn a lot more about. But yeah, you could tell he is, and it goes right into that shooting. And
yeah,
he's a very, very good shot, as it turns out. Hawk is also a great shot, and Harry, of course, but not Andy's a hot mess.
Andy's shooting with the bewildered look on his face as they're supposed to shoot like rapid fire is fantastic. I mean, there's nothing better than that. And he misses everything. Cooper, of course, getting the 4 through the eyes and 2 through each nostril is really great. But yeah, I don't know what else is in this. I mean, Hawk gives us poetry. Hawk's a poet.
Yeah, Hawk's a poet. We find out he's dated this woman at professor at some university. I can't remember. Brandeis, I believe. I think, right? Yep. Yeah, it's fine. And then, obviously, now we find out that all of the files are alphabetical by pet name, not by pet type.
Yep.
So they're going to need a lot of coffee.
Sure are.
We're going to jump over to the Double R, and if we had Boys Town, we're going to have Girls Town, because Shelley and Norma are going to talk about boys. And meanwhile, James calls Donna only to be distracted when he sees Maddie. We also find out Hank got that parole.
Did you notice in the background the Say No to Ghostwood flyers in the background of the Double R, which is pretty cool? I hadn't noticed that on previous watches, but seeing that, so we get the Low Town and people against the Ghostwood, maybe as opposed to
the mean Horn Brothers project.
Yep. That's pretty cool. You said before that they had a guy talk, they got girl talk here. Definitely not succeeding the Bechtel test here, but they also said they're going to be the knockouts of the Double R and going to have a spa day together.
A little spa
they're
day.
already the freaking knockouts. I don't know what they're talking about, but it's such. I like their relationship as well. All the little pairings of people we get throughout this, all the relationships are just dynamic, and I love it.
Them in particular, because like we've seen families for everyone but Shelley, and Norma is like a mother figure for her, and you see like how hard her life is compared to the Haywards or even the Palmers or even Bobby, like with, she has nobody and she's stuck in this house with this awful guy. Like, he just wanted a maid that he didn't have to pay. And Norma's had a hard life. And these are the hardworking people. They have a job. Like no one else really has a job.
They're so similar too. They like she says, they both have two men. They don't know what to do with any of the four of them. Like it's perfect.
Shelley's the same age as these kids. And yet her life is so vastly different.
Yeah. I mean, they do look related, the two of them as well. They have a very similar look, the age difference, everything. But I love their pairing.
We get a little bit too from Shelley to Norma, that the plan was she was going to ask Hank for a divorce, and she doesn't, and she's like, I couldn't, like, didn't work out, and now I'm afraid that he's going to get out. So then we got to get the James stuff in.
Yeah.
So James with that call, and James just starts Jamesing so hardcore on that potluck dinner. I mean, poor Doc Hayward's like, get him over here. I could use, what's the Mayday. Whoever heard of vegetarian lasagna? And like James is just, she's like, could you come over? And he's like, I don't know if I can. Like he's just so hardcore Jamesing at this point that it's like, Jesus.
Then he sees Maddie, and from behind even, he's like, okay, I gotta go. I'll eat something. I'll be over. Just get Donna off the phone. And he's staring at Maddie from 2 feet away.
Yeah, like he sees a ghost. Yeah, like he's seeing a ghost.
Maddie giving a little backstory that she used to come and visit, and they were like sisters.
And Maddie in the diary is like 4 years older, so she would be like a college-age kid compared to high school kids, so... Although, she looks exactly like Laura Palmer, so who knows?
But yeah, then we do find out that Hank's going to get paroled. Poor Norma.
And you also find out that Leland's been listening to music all night, so he's just freaking out. Sarah's a mess. Like, you get all that from Maddie.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, one other bit that I find interesting is, like, the extras in the diner. You mentioned the Ghostwood flyer, but, like, if you look at the people around... There's Toad, who's the bad tipper. We're going to see him again. He doesn't have any lines. He gets up. He actually looks like this guy, Robert Kirkman, who's a comic writer, but regardless. He gets up. We're going to see more Toad. But at the table by the door, there's like this rough-looking guy that's got these extra fancy reading glasses on with a chain, and he's chewing on the chain.
I didn't even notice that.
It's just weird. And then a military person walks in, and the way he walks is just very sort of weird, like very stiff. And he walks at the same pace that Norma does when the camera sort of moves. And it's just weird. I don't know who's meeting there, if it's someone with Major Briggs or whatever, but there's like a military guy in full uniform.
I love that in your head, there's a whole other scene that we're not seeing. Everything that's going on with Major Briggs, all that, this...
Yeah, maybe it's Project Blue Book. Like something's definitely happening with the satellites. Okay, so the Great Northern, Ben learns that Icelandic Investment is interested in the Ghostwood project, and Audrey convinces her dad to hire her at the department store, and Ben gets a phone call.
Ben's by the fire again, Eric. I mean...
Fire, man. Talks about fire constantly. He's near the fire. This guy is hot.
Yep. I mean, he could be on an exercise bike anywhere in the Great Northern, but he's got to do it right there in front of the fire. It's true. Right, like heading right towards it. The whole conversation between the two of them. I mean, Audrey's completely convincing. I think Ben wants to believe her because I don't think that she was really selling it all that hard. That she just wants to get her life together after her friend died, and life is too short, and you can put me anywhere, whatever, like the cosmetics. That's totally fine. But I think Ben really wants to believe her. So. Interesting to see their dynamic. Like he hasn't maybe totally given up on her, it seems, at this point.
I love this scene because I feel like she plays her dad like a champ. And it's the moment that she starts invoking Laura and his connection to Laura that he bends. Like when she says, I saw a friend of mine cut down like a flower that had just begun to bloom. Like that's the key to sort of connect this and to get Ben to take her seriously, is like using that. And then we get that picture of Laura on his desk. Now, it's Laura and Audrey, so you know at some point that they were close, that they had some history, but we also know that her dad is looking at Laura all day long, like at his desk. Like there's something going on there that she's trying to get to. With the Icelandic investment thing, it's like we're now being prepped for the Icelandic folks that may be coming, which is kind of cool. But that's it. It's a great scene. I like the two of them. I feel like she completely manipulates him in a wonderful way. But I feel like the key is
that's a good point.
Yep, and how she preys on that. And you could see how sad she is too, like when she looks at that picture, because from what we'll learn, like there's like some competition almost for the love of Ben between Laura and Audrey. So at the sheriff's station, Gordon Cole is back and he's going to give us an update. And Cooper's going to learn that a Mida bird bit Laura. The plastic piece was a poker chip. And at the same time, Andy's going to find a file that Jacques Renault had a Mida bird named Waldo at the Lydecker Clinic.
This is a small detail, but this is what we're here for. They're going to, Harry and Cooper and Hawk are going to Jacques Renault's last known residence. There's a tennis court in the back. Is one of the tennis players wearing a ski mask?
Yes, they're both like in a lot of like winter gear.
Okay, great. I mean, I love it.
From what I know, this is just a fun bit. They always do weird things with extras, so they just have like two people playing. But yes, they're in like complete winter gear, like face covering and everything.
You know, I'm not watching it in the Blu-ray, so I'm watching whatever the quality of the streaming is, and I had to like stop. I was like, am I just... It's too blurry. Maybe it's not, but it is. It's just okay. Great. Just
it's a
100%. Just moment. Making sure.
This bit is so great too. Like you get that line about like when two separate events occur simultaneously, returning to the same object of inquiry, we must always pay strict attention.
Absolutely.
Words to live by. But I love that moment that those two things happen simultaneously because we get both of those pieces of information at once. We get a poker chip from One-Eye Jacks where we know that he works as a dealer. Was that right? I don't go to a lot of casinos. As a person that
I think they're called a dealer,
and chips.
Uh-huh.
A dealer, I had. A dealer in many ways.
At least two.
And Andy finding that file, and it's like, we're on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Love it. It's very action-packed. Like, this is like that scene that you're talking about, like, you see the tennis, but it's like, what? And then it cuts over, and it's like, Cooper, like, go, and it's a cool, like, on-location bit, too. I like the way that thing's shot.
Bobby inside the apartment getting interrupted. He was trying... We didn't know exactly what he was going to do, but you can kind of put two and two together. We see now he was trying to plant the evidence of the bloody shirt at Jacques. I gotta say, I'm going to chalk it up to him being really rushed, but the way that he sticks it into a drawer that's, like, so obviously a play... Like, it almost bothers me a little bit that Cooper or Harry weren't like, this is a little too easy. Cooper's super observant and understands these things, has intuitive flashes, but didn't quite remember, had to confirm that Leo had a red Corvette, and is also not kind of twigged that this feels like an obvious plant right in front of him. But anyway, I guess we'll figure out later how he feels in retrospect about this. You got Bobby jumping out the door. You got a run, Bobby, run moment there, and Hawk goes after him. But again, Hawk loses him within seconds. So Hawk's an incredible tracker. He does track down the one-armed man eventually.
Yeah, Bobby's got the jump on him, and he's a varsity athlete. Dude.
I knew this would get you. How, if you speak ill of Hawk, I swear to God, I'll kill you.
I mean, come on. Hawk is a great character.
Yeah.
But I love this, and I mentioned, like, Firewalk with Me again. We'll find out some stuff with Jock and Bobby and all of that stuff. It's really cool. So now we're going to go to that secret meeting that we'd mentioned. Ben got a phone call that broke up that Audrey meeting, and now we're going to see who he's talking to. We're by the river. It's Leo, and Leo's going to confess to killing Bernie Renault and claims to have driven Jacques back into Canada. Now, Ben pays Leo to burn the mill.
Yeah.
This is right up there in my collection of evidence scenes.
Well, why don't we tick through it here? Because we got Ben, first of all, like connecting him to Hank, which is terrific, which is almost a throwaway line. He's just like, no, Hank said you're gifted, and I believe him, and that's it. Just no other mention.
Yeah, and now we've got Ben, Hank, Leo, and Hank and Leo.
And Jacques over here.
Yeah, Hank is speaking on behalf of Leo, so they have a relationship, and it's
and
all
is great with Leo. unfortunately, Bernie had to go. But he said, if you ever tell anyone about me, I'll kill you. And he should have believed, or he shouldn't have believed me. That's is a great line. But I didn't do it justice. But also, I don't know if this ever comes back, but as Ben is telling Leo that he's kind of a dumbass for going there in a really conspicuous car, he's also unwrapping a cigar and dropping the cigar wrapper and the whatever right there by a dead body in the woods. I don't know. It doesn't feel like the most appropriate.
Yeah, no, I don't think that comes back. Yeah, that didn't
Let's
even
take
register for
have a
me.
little humility here as well if you're gonna give Leo some crap on it. But I don't know. It is more of a scene to put pieces together.
I have to assume that Leo is going to get rid of the body. They won't just leave it there. It's wrapped and ready to go, and perhaps they'll. Yeah.
I didn't think I think it's going to try to shove it into the same empty tree stump where he puts the football. So just shove it in there.
Maybe.
But other than putting pieces together and introducing connections between people, I don't think there's a whole lot that happens in this scene.
Well, there is, Dan, because Leo says he's still talking about his missing $10,000, which feeds into the idea that Leo has fronted the drugs and he's now out of the money.
Major career opportunities staring you in the face, and all you can think about is car wax and chicken feed drug transactions.
Hey, I'm out $10,000. Maybe that's peanuts to you, not to me.
You were in business with a couple glue-sniffing squish heads, Leo.
Or no, brothers, I broke up their act.
He says that $10,000 doesn't mean a lot to you, but it means a lot to me. But what's interesting is Ben says in response, well, you were in business with a couple of glue-sniffing squish heads. And you think he's talking, I'm thinking, he's talking about high school kids. But he goes, who? The Renault brothers? And then you're like, now I'm confused.
Right.
I broke up their act, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a scene in Fire Walk With Me that's tied to this with $10,000 that we'll eventually get there. That has to do with Jacques and $10,000. Doesn't matter. But this line, like he says, I'm still out. It's like, yeah, I am right. It is a front. So somebody, I'm going to get to the bottom of this.
I really do think you need to talk to an expert about this.
Not far off from here. I'm assuming it's not far off. I don't have a complete map of this area. But James and Donna are back and they're looking for that buried necklace. Only they find it's missing.
And this is where we find out, you mentioned before,
we talked a bit about this.
Laura and Sarah both have visions. So Donna knows that there's always some spooky things going on. I think it's a pretty short scene. We get a little bit of information about this, but I think the one thing that I love, the shot of
stupid James
of the shot of the owl hooting up in the trees, and then you get the reverse shot looking down from the owl's perspective is really nice too. But
right off the part where they're talking about sort of the spookiness.
Yeah,
her mom was spooky, and Laura had the same deal.
And they both jump whenever the owl hoots, which is it's just a beautiful shot too.
Extrasensory abilities is very cool.
Absolutely. Anything else in this scene? I mean, that's really all this.
Yes.
Okay.
Poor simple James. When James is like, I see Laura all the time.
Oh boy.
Sometimes it's like I really do see her. It's like, dude, you just saw Maddie. She looks exactly like Laura Palmer. That's why you think you keep seeing her everywhere.
Or was he actually referring to her?
No, he's probably. But
I'm trying to be charitable to Jim, just like you're trying to be charitable to Hawk over here.
And also, simple James is getting completely manipulated by Donna, because James wants to go to the cops, right? He's like, we should take this information to the cops because it's important. And Donna shuts him down. He's like, the police didn't love Laura. Like, she's definitely, I think James exists to get manipulated by beautiful women, and it's continuing.
When you say manipulated, though, that makes it sound like Donna has a plan, but he's just whipped no matter what, whoever he's with.
But she's definitely like shutting that down. No one, she's
setting up her own private investigation.
She's got her own private investigator. She wants to be the one to do it.
Yeah.
But simple James is just, he's seeing Laura. He thinks that he's not even sure if it's real. All right. So we're going to go back to the Packard home. Truman calls to confront Josie about the motel. She quickly sort of says, and I got another call coming in. And Josie makes Pete a sandwich and discovers that she has a new pen pal.
This is another one of those scenes of the Josie and her malpropisms. Pete says, I'm so tired. She says, I could eat a horse, which is just lovely. Just one of those lovely things. And Pete's little... I love the expression. Sorry, what's the actor's name again that plays Pete?
Jack Nance.
Yeah, he's just fantastic when he asks Catherine around. No, then put some mayo on it. He laughs to himself. It's just great.
Yeah, and then there's that weird close-up of the mayo spread. It's like, it's a very strange shot choice that it's just, you see her do the whole mayo
It's a
spread.
very thick, it's weird. It's a
The whole business with the sandwiches I find very bizarre, because after she gives Pete the sandwich, he like looks like, what's he looking for? He like lifts up the bread and looks in it just to make sure she put enough mayo.
Yeah.
Maybe he's yelled at her in the past, like it's not enough mayo, and that's
he's never yelled at Josie in his life.
just constantly berating her. No, I'm kidding. Clearly,
Well, I mean, their relationship too. I'm reading into things maybe, but when Pete's asking Josie to join him in the
fishing tournament.
the mixed doubles fishing, which I didn't know was the thing, but okay, he just seems so nervous about asking her to do it.
yeah, I think he has a crush on her.
Okay. So I'm not. I mean, because we talked before.
They have a very like close relationship,
Yeah.
and it's been set that he's giving her the key. Like she's like, I think he definitely has a crush.
You think
on
he's
her.
a crush? Okay. I mean, that's how it played to me as well. I think he absolutely, obviously cares for her. They're obviously, the two of them are pals and kind of co-conspirators and all that. But I didn't know if I was over reading the interaction there. But
No, I don't think so. I think he's sweet on her in some way. Not that he's going to try to have a relationship with her, but like I think he would do a lot for her.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So they're going to do that, which is really cool. But yeah, we got this. We got Harry calling Josie to find out was she at the motel earlier, and she's like, I'm not going to talk about this right now.
Yeah, she's like, oh, there's some static on the line.
Yeah.
And she just hangs up.
That
poor
happens.
Poor Harry.
But yeah, she gets some mail. She gets a beautiful. We have several really great artists.
Yep, Hank's pretty good. In prison, what else are you going to do?
I guess he's really learned his
He
perspective.
throws her that classic catch you later.
Catch you later.
So she gets the mail that's the hand drawn sketch of a domino, the double threes domino, and then immediately after,
Yeah. What you don't know is he had called 3 times prior. Did you get it yet? Did you get it? Hold on, I'll call back in 15 minutes.
he's got someone tailing the postal delivery. But then he does the creepiest thing with that domino when he's on the phone with her. The way that he's sucking on it. Sucking on, chill it out. It's so revolting.
It's classic Hank, though.
It's very Hank. I don't know. Just give me the ooh.
The Dutch angle scene, this is one of the few times you get the Dutch angles. I don't like Dutch angles.
It's effective here.
I would say I don't love that part of it.
Because
I'm not a fan of Dutch angles. I find them a little corny. I understand it's like a noir show.
Yeah.
So it's mimicking some of that, but I just personally, I don't like it. Tim Hunter does there's another episode that he's going to do in season 2. He's a great director. Like the stuff like we talked about Ben when Ben's on the bike, like when it comes out of the chandelier with the cool, I like him as a director, but he does Dutch angles in this other episode too. And I just don't like it.
Okay.
I don't like it. It feels like it's like too
heavy-handed
and like just trying too hard. No, I don't know. I don't like it. I still don't like it for the ending. So,
do you just not like the Dutch, or is it?
It has nothing to do with the Dutch. I like the Dutch. Yeah,
folks. I don't think
not
I
for me. It's not for me.
I thought it
I'll
worked
say
fine.
that.
Didn't bother me at all.
Okay,
but, all right.
fair enough.
Well, look at us disagreeing again.
Disagreeing on the camera angle choice.
I think the entire thing should be shot from a Dutch angle, but yeah, I think that wraps up everything in the
that's
story.
it, man. That's it.
Not the biggest cliffhanger in the world, but we do. I mean, I'm intrigued to figure out. Again, what is great for me watching this show again is that I have the memory of a goldfish, and I don't know what's coming next either. So it's gonna be great.
Well, Dan, I could tell you what's coming next.
Oh, please.
Cooper's Dream.
Cooper's Dream.
Cooper's Dreams, plural, I should say. This is a fantastic episode. This is one of my favorite ones. I gotta tell you, I love the one we did before this, with the funeral, and then this one. This is going
Rest
to
in
be,
Pain and Cooper's Dreams rocketing to the top of the charts.
Those are some of my favorites. So I'm very much looking forward to it. The next one is Leslie Linka Glatter. It's the director. So, yeah, we'll see you then. See you in a week. Although we're 2 weeks ahead of you, so it's possible something terrible's happened to me.
Oh, God.
Wouldn't that be a cliffhanger? Like, oh my God, he predicted his own death, and the end of that's the best way to get podcast listeners. In a way,
I mean,
That would definitely get the most amount of listens.
Yeah.
Because then someone would be like, oh my God. And then he actually predicted that he would get crushed by one of those swinging streetlights that he was so into, and he was driving and it just hit him. And they say the streetlight killed him, but I know he died of a broken heart.
All right.
We're done.
I'm hitting stop.
Thank you for listening to the Meanwhile podcast with Dan Johnson and Eric Grissom. If you would like to support the Meanwhile podcast, you can leave us a donation by visiting ericgrissom.com/meanwhile and clicking on the support link. If you like our show, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're hearing this now. Meanwhile is produced by Eric Grissom and Where's My Robots? The Meanwhile theme song is written and performed by Paul Finn and Evening Pines. If you want to let us know what you thought of the show, you can reach Dan at danjnj.com, both on the web and on Blue Sky. Eric can be found on Blue Sky at ericgrissom.com, which is also his website. It's also me, right? That's weird. We'll see you again, and in the meantime, be good.
Listen to the sounds.
Meanwhile.
Where's my robots, you know?